Hey everybody, your target B2.1 here is comparing and contrasting artificial, natural, and sexual selection and explain how variation makes that happen. Okay, so once we get into variation, which we've studied before, we need to know why that's necessary for selection. And we'll tell you what selection is in a little bit. But first, if there's no variation, then there's no differences between organisms, and none of them would be better suited than the other, and there would be no reason to have to choose them. So all of these would be identical, no variation. Therefore, anything, a disease would come in and it would wipe them all out. Or if someone's choosing one to be better suited, they're all the same, so it wouldn't matter. So variation is important in that regard. Examples of variation, we went through some of these in class, the carrots, different kinds of dogs, lots and lots of different kinds of dogs. And we talked about what causes the variation, and if anybody remembers, it is meiosis. And two things happen there. Crossing over occurs, and independent assortment, meaning it's a random number of chromosomes that goes to each gamete. There's the crossing over. Sexual reproduction is another source of variation, and mutation. So those are the sources of variation that essentially nature provides. Okay, so now with the variation, we need to talk about selection. And what do we mean by selection? And that is there's a decision to be made, a choice to be made, or choosing something based on whatever characteristic for survival and for reproduction. Okay, so selection has to do with an organism surviving and then reproducing. Surviving, reproducing. Okay, that's what an animal's drive is, basically, as it sits there. Okay, so that's what selection is, getting to survive and reproduce. The first type of selection is natural selection, and that is where nature decides who's the fittest and who gets to survive and reproduce. Okay, so in this instance, clearly, the lion will survive and reproduce. He is the fittest. He was fast enough to catch that little feller and probably strong enough and hungry enough to eat him. Okay? Now, fittest can mean a lot of different things. Strongest, fastest, bravest, timid, bright, dark, loud, quiet. Like, fittest can mean almost anything. So when you say survival of the fittest, it could be anything, but it always depends on the environment. And the environment dictates what is most fit. Okay, so for example, the environment might be cold, might turn super hot, it might be dry, it might be snowy, it might be floody. So I'm not even sure floody is a word. But because of the environment or the environmental changes, that would determine fit. So for this, the most fit might be the thinnest coat of fur and the lightest color coat. For this one, you may have a darker coat with thicker skin and a bunch of fat underneath your skin. For this one, maybe your body doesn't lose heat very, very easily, or you're more active at night. So all these would be different adaptations, different variations that work in all of these different environments. I mean, you can't have everything. That's funny. The second type of selection is artificial selection. We talked about that in class, and that's when humans decide what organisms will survive and reproduce. So you got the big cow, you got all the fancy pigeons. Anyway, people are picking the traits that they want to see in the next generations. The third type of selection is sexual selection, and that's where individual organisms decide who they want to mate with, so they get to survive and reproduce. So, hi, Mr. Peacock. How you doing? You want to mate? Okay. I mean, that's pretty much it. So he's got big, huge feathers. The female peacock is digging the feathers, and there you go. That proves it makes these feathers then be more common, because those are the things that attract the female, and the whole point of this deal is to reproduce. So, lucky peacock there. All right, so now in the last part of the target, it said, how is variation related to selection? And that's what we're going to work on in our summary after you take these notes, and we'll do that in class together. the end.